Good morning. Hey, welcome back to my channel. Today is going to be my first ride with me. I am running a ton of errands today. I have a ton of errands to run. It's cold outside. It's about 8:44 in the morning. And in order to maximize my day, I need to get my errands done early, including getting my nails done, going grocery shopping, and cleaning out my car. Those are like my top 3 to-dos as far as my errands. But today I wanted to talk about what this very important topic that I think doesn't get talked about enough. And since I'm going to be in and out the car pretty much all morning, I was like, I'm going to get this talk in. That way I can just talk freely and just get my message across. If you have not already, make sure you subscribe and like this video if you like what you hear. But I wanted to talk about what I would like to see left in 2019. And the biggest thing that I would like to see left in 2019 is women's ability to, or inability to achieve the lifestyle they desire when it comes to relationships, especially relationships with men. And so I'm just noticing more and more lately. Somebody pulled over? Oh my goodness, I gotta go around these people. What's going on here? Yeah, so I'm seeing women more and more like get into relationships with men at the expense of themselves. And I'm just like, sis, don't you know that if you are in a relationship and as in not married, but you're allowing somebody to claim you and you're allowing somebody to take you off the market, and you are struggling in any way, like, sis, you single. I had posted that on Facebook a couple of weeks ago and people laughed and it got a lot of attention. But like, to me, this is what I believe. I base my life on the Bible, right? And if it's not seen or it's not contradicted by what the Bible says, then my standard is my standard. Whoever don't like it, oh well. But I just see time and time again where if women are being provided for, a man is an asset to a woman and a woman is an asset to a man. If I'm doing great by myself, why would I get into a relationship and allow someone to take me off the market who can't help me 10 times myself, right? So essentially in a marriage, you should marry someone, I believe, someone who can help you be a better you and you help them be a better them, right? And so when you get into a relationship or a marriage and you find yourself struggling physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially, more than what you did when you met them, that's a problem. Like, that is a serious problem. And I don't think that women are looking at that as they approach relationship. So my thing is, before a woman should get into a relationship, she needs to know what she wants. You need to know exactly what you need that makes you the best woman, wife, and mother you could possibly be. Even if you're not a wife yet, even if you're not a mother yet, you need to be able to articulate to somebody else, this is my standard, because in order for me, because if I don't have this standard met, I'm not the best me that I could be. Therefore, I can't be an asset to you, right? Because here's the tea. Relationships and people that you invest time in is an investment, right? You invest your time, your energy, your attention, your money for guys into women. You better make sure that's a dang good investment, right? When you allow a man to take you off the market, whether you believe in being in a relationship or just in marriage or engagement or whatever, you better make sure that the thing that the person that you're investing in, again, whether it's time, attention, money, whatever, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, you better make sure you're going to get more out of it. You're going to get a better return on your investment than what you started. And, I don't think that we view relationships that way because, socially or societally or culturally, whatever the case is, we're not trained to do that. But throughout the Bible, even in old days, like if a man wanted to take a woman's hand in marriage, he had to come with something for his family, to the woman's family. He couldn't come empty-handed saying, I want to be with your daughter. He had to be like, okay, this is what I will give in exchange for her, because I understand that by me getting her, I'm going to be better off than if I'm by myself. And so I need to give up something in order to get something, right? And as women, even today, we have to realize that if a man wants to be with you, he needs to invest in you. And again, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically, financially. Like, it all goes hand in hand. Like, there's no such thing as free lunch. And yet, we're giving men free lunch, you know? When it came to my fiance, he will always say, you know, throughout our courtship, because first of all, I told him straight up, the only thing I can offer you without a ring is friendship, is courtship. I did not allow him to take me off the market. I did not allow him to call me his girlfriend. He could not post me on social media because that wasn't enough. Like, I'm 30 years old with a whole child. At that point, I was 29 years old. And I was with a child, and I'm thriving, right? I'm not going to allow you to come in and take me off the market and you add nothing to me, right? And let's be clear, as a woman, you alone, your attention and your presence alone adds a lot to a man. And so oftentimes women will get frustrated when they're in relationships with men because they feel like they gave so much and the man got a lot out of the relationship once they broke up and they didn't get much. The reason why you didn't get much is because you didn't require much. You need to know, like I was just saying, what is required from the guy that's in your life. You got to articulate that, right? You got to be the one to say, hey, this is what I expect. These are my standards. If you don't like it, that's fine. I might not be the woman for you, but trust and believe they didn't stop making men when they made you. Therefore, there's going to be someone who feels like my standards are easy to meet, right? You know, when I met Darren, like I said, I put my expectations out front. And he was like, I'm thankful that you put your expectations out front, because not only did it require me it made you more of a challenge, which challenged me, but it also made me a better man, right? Because I told him when we were courting and he would start talking about marriage and how he wanted to buy me a ring. And I said, well, how much money do you make a year? Because I know for me to be the best wife and mother and woman that I desire to be, I know I have one child right now. He has two. For us to be together and for us to get married, that means we will have 3 children automatically off rip in our marriage, at the beginning of our marriage, plus the 2 of us. That's 5 people. So that's going from him managing a household of 3, from me managing a household of 2, to us managing a household of 5. And I know I want more children before I get too much older. So my thing is, before I even met him, I knew that my husband had to make a certain dollar amount without my help, just so if I decide to have children, I don't necessarily have to bring in income. I want my husband to be a full provider, right? And so when I met my fiance, I articulated that, not right off bat, not in the first, the first meeting or the first date, but I would hint to and allude to saying, like, basically the guy that I marry, he has to be a full provider and has to value providing for and fully taking care of his family, right? And then not only he have to have a nice income, because the reason why most people in America get divorced is because of income. You think I'm about to start off struggling? No, absolutely not. But what does that look like? If you yourself as a woman can't articulate how much a man needs to make before he marries you, how is he supposed to know? And then you get into the marriage and then you're mad and you're upset because y'all pinching pennies or y'all struggling or y'all living paycheck to paycheck right off bat, but you never made that a requirement in order to have your hand in marriage, right? Going back to Darren and what he said, that's my fiance's name. He was like, by you telling me, okay, in order to marry me, I need to have this amount of income. Guess what he did? He went and tripled his income, right? And so not only is that showing up for me and him qualifying to be my husband, but he's doing better for him and his children that he already has, right? And he's like, you're helping me and you're motivating me and showing me and encouraging me that I can go to new levels that I didn't think I could necessarily reach at this age or at this time or, you know, with this schedule. And I absolutely came in and was like, oh, you can do better than that. Oh, you're trying to wife me and I already got a kid and you got 2 kids. Okay, we're going to need this certain amount of income. He was like, okay, let's do this. First, he was a little apprehensive, but like I always said, I didn't lock you in. You didn't lock me in. We're in a courtship. If the amount of money you need to make in order to marry me and be a provider male is too much for you, there's the door. We haven't commingled anything, right? Like, we kept everything at friendship level to where it's easy to walk away. We don't have each other all over each other's social media pages. Did nobody know that we were, you know, hanging out and, you know, courting on the low, right? So it was very easy for me to uphold my standards. And if he didn't meet one, I can easily say on to the next, right? I can court somebody else or have somebody else court me versus feeling like I'm stuck answering questions. Oh, well, I already told everybody we together. I'm just going to try to work it out. That's backwards, right? So again, those standards and you articulating your standards and what you need before you even are courted by somebody is key. So yeah, for me, my 2 biggest standards in relationships, you know, going into the courtship with Taryn before I met him, my top 2 on my list, I created a list of my standards and what I desired in the man of my life was spiritual foundation and financial stability. He had to be more spiritually developed and financially he had to be a provider. But yeah, so anyway, spiritual foundation and financial stability was the 2 biggest things in order for me to accept a man's hand in marriage, right? And or his ring or whatever, you know. And so again, if I didn't put that out front, that wouldn't get upheld, because people treat you how you teach people how to treat you, right? You teach them how to handle you, what you are expecting by how you carry yourself and handle yourself. And if they don't meet a standard, then you don't accept just anything. You articulate and express that they didn't accept your standard. They didn't meet your standards, right? And they can't move to level 2 until they master level 1, right? And it's funny because my fiance and I talk about it all the time. And again, even though it caused him to jump through hoops, which they should, like they should show a level of effort in order to be with you. It shouldn't be easy for them to meet your standards and meet your expectations, you know. But you know, it makes them level up, because it's a trickle down effect, right? Like I was just saying with the finances. The same thing with spiritual foundation. If he's ahead of me spiritually and he knows more biblical knowledge than I do, and if he see me constantly studying the Bible for historical context or to be able to teach my audience about different biblical principles and things like that, and he knows that in order for me to keep the level of respect that he desires to have from me, he knows he got to do twice as much, which in turn helps develop him and his relationship with God, just on the strength of him trying to keep ahead of me. You know what I'm saying? So not only does my standards help me, but they help him as well. And you know, you'll notice that once you start holding men accountable and holding them accountable to your standards and also standards that they've set for themselves, that they'll thank you for it. In the midst of it, it might not be, you know, easy. You know, they might want the path of least resistance, so they think, but once they start to exceed their own expectations based on the expectations you set for them and you require of them, they will start thanking you for it, because you are helping them help themselves become a better man. And you know, that's how you know you're in a good situation. That's how you know you're in a good spot, where you both are leveling up, and the expectations that you have for each other is causing you to go to a new level, and you're happy with that person you're becoming. Because it's one thing if a guy is courting you and he's trying to meet your needs, but your expectations and your needs and your wants but those needs and wants goes against who he is and who God calls him to be. If that's the case, that's the wrong relationship. That's the wrong situation, right? But if you're in a spot to where you're both leveling up and causing each other to level up in a good way, you're good. You're in a good spot. You know, and I hope that we can all get to a point as women that we don't feel like it's hard to express how we feel and the desires that we have when it comes to the men in our life. Like, you have to understand, even back since biblical times, like, look at read the Bible, girl. Like, I'm telling you, that's just, I feel like that's my constitution. That's where all of my examples come from, and my you know, blueprint for life comes from, right? Again, there's some stuff that you won't necessarily find in the Bible. So whatever it is that I feel like I want to do or like to do, if it doesn't contradict Bible or who God is or who's God called me to be, then I'm gonna do it, right? As long as it's morally right and it's something that fulfills a desire of mine and it doesn't contradict what God, you know, what Jesus, how he has told me to live, I'm doing it, right? So if you open up the Bible, women are taken care of. Back in biblical times, when they talked about working and being diligent and all those other things, they truly were talking to men, because at that time, women worked inside the home. Women took care of the home, and men are the ones who went outside of the home and worked. They worked the field, they worked the land, they did all these other things, you know. And in Proverbs 31, she worked outside the home, but it wasn't like she was toiling and struggling, and she was not, at least I don't see anywhere to where she was a 50-50 woman to where they relied on her income as well. No, her ability to thrive the way she did was contingent upon her ability to not be in survival mode, because their household did not depend on her spiritually. It did not depend on her financially. It did not depend on her physically, right? When you have a woman who's matching a man's physical, financial, and emotional and spiritual efforts, meaning that they're both co-leading the household, you will find it very hard for her to put him in a position of leadership. A woman, including you and I, you know, if you feel like you feel like this is something different than what you feel, I don't know, sis. We could talk about it. Let me know in the comments. But I truly believe that it is hard for a woman to truly look at a man as head of household if she is co-head of household, right? It's hard for a woman to respect the man in her life, respect her husband like she should be and like she's required to in the Bible when it talks about marriage, if he's not looked at as the spiritual covering, if he's not looked at as the financial provider, if he's not looked at the teacher and the protector of the household. If y'all both doing the leading, protecting, providing, you know, like she's like, I'm the leader too, right? So what I say should go just like what you thinking that what you say as a man should go, and I'm thinking as what I say should go. We're both are going to be conflicting because we're two leaders trying to occupy the same space. But when you have a leader and then a helpmate, right? The leader is the one who is assuming responsibility for everything, and he only looks at the woman in his life for help, not for co-leadership, not for a partnership, but for help, for assistance, right? That is a totally different dynamic. For my fiance and I, as we are progressing towards the wedding and moving in together, way before we even set a wedding date or there was a ring, we were very clear on the gender role, the roles that each and I would assume in our household. And for me, I am a helpmate. I am not the provider. I am not the protector. I am not going to drag you to church. I'm not going to teach you and encourage you to read the Bible. If anything, that is your job. His job is to be bringing you closer to God And it's also your own job to bring closer to God. But, you know, essentially, he is the one being held accountable for his household going to church. He is the one being ahead of his household to thrive, not you. You are called to help and to assist him with that, not to initiate it, not to spearhead it, not to fund it, right? And so once you have a male like that and y'all get on the same page like my fiance and I did, we was clear. I don't care how much money I make a month. His role is to provide, and our household needs to run on his income. Because again, I already know, looking ahead, that I really want to be, I really want to have more children. And if I have more children and we're working 50-50 on my income, I'm at the gas station, so hold on. And we're working 50-50 on my income, and then I want to stay at home with my child until they're 1. I can't do that because you're like looking at me for money and I'm looking at you for money, you know? Like that puts us in a tough position. Woo! I just got done vacuuming out my car and it looks so nice and so clean in here. Alright, now I gotta go get my nails done because it's open now. It's 9:30. So now it's open. I did a bunch of little errands in between time and in the meantime, so that's really good. Another question that I get, though, in relationship to what we're talking about is how can you tell if a guy is generous or he's a provider? And the biggest way that I found it to be successful to kind of tell that is to pose a problem and see if he'll solve it. Most providers are problem solvers, and real godly men who seek to be an asset to women and to help women, not to use women or take from women, if they hear problem, they'll get in problem solving mode. So for example, one of my mentors, she told me, this is how she told me to test Darren. She said, pose a problem and see his response. So for the first one that I did was, this was early on, we was about a month in, and I told him that I didn't have enough money to cover my phone bill. Now I did. And he was like, okay. So his first response was not, oh man, that's crazy, like what you gonna do, good luck, that's on you, you know. That was not his response. His response was problem solving mode. Well, how much is it? When do you need it by? Would you accept money from me? I can help you take care of that. Do you want me to give you half? Do you want me to pay all of it? Like, he went into problem solving mode, right? And so, you know, whether you do that with the guy that you're courting, that's courting you or whatever, you don't necessarily have to take it, but you do have to test it, right? God says test everything, right? You need to test something before you give your life to it and before you give your energy and your time to it, you know? So you need to, you know, as a woman, be okay with testing to see if a man is generous or not, because he's not going to all of a sudden become generous and be the man that you want him to be once y'all get married. Like, he needs to be that already. He needs to value that and have the characteristics of that already. You know, like, I never once changed Darren. Darren was like how I love him to be now. He was like that before we met. He was like that in his past marriage and his past relationships. Like, I didn't make him be what he already wasn't, which was, you know, he already understood the value of marriage. He already desired marriage. He already desired being a provider and being a great husband and a great father and a great leader and having a spiritual foundation and things like that. So I didn't have to make him do it. I didn't have to teach him to do it. I didn't have to train him to do it. I didn't have to convince him the perks of doing this and all this other stuff. Like, it was very easy, because you got to know how to choose the right target. You have to learn what you need as a woman, and then you have to say you have to make your list of what you need as a woman, and then you have to create a list on what guy pairs well with that. List the characteristics of the guy who will pair well with what you need and what you want and who you are. And then when you start dating, when you start courting, you use that list and say, is this the type of man that's most effective for the type of lifestyle that I'm trying to create? right? The type of life I'm trying to live. Because at the end of the day, ladies, like, you got to remember, the man you choose is not only going to affect your life, but he's going to affect the lives of your children. So if you choose an abusive man, a stingy man, a cheap man, a broke man, a broken man, all these things affect your children. And it's up to you to protect your seeds, as well as it's up to him to provide and to protect them. So it's your job to make sure you're not choosing a man who will suck at being a husband and a father and a provider and a spiritual covering over your household. Alright, just stopped at Goodwill. Now I'm really off to get my nails done. Because I forgot I did have some donations in the back that I had to get out the trunk. Yeah, so it all starts with you as a woman. Even when you're married, what I keep hearing is that how the household is set up and how it's ran, it all starts with you as a helpmate, because you need to know what you need in order to be the best wife, mother, homemaker, entrepreneur, mompreneur, whatever your lifestyle looks like. You got to be able to articulate that to somebody before you try to be in anybody's relationship or marriage, sis. Like, you got to know what you like and what you want. Because how you expect a man to please you? How do you expect him to do what you need him to do if you can't even tell him what you need and you don't even know what you need? Like, it all starts with you. And so if you are in a situation right now where you're feeling like, well, I'm not being treated like how I wanted to be treated. I don't have the lifestyle that I desire. I don't have the, ultimately the guy, the relationship, the husband that I want. It's because you didn't create that first. You got to create that first. And then you look outwardly and say, you created first inwardly in your own private time. And then you look outwardly and judge the guy that's in front of you based on that list on what you desire. No emotion involved. You can have sex with anybody. Let's talk about that. You can have sex with anybody. You can have sexual chemistry and be attracted to almost any guy out here. There's a lot of good looking guys. There's a very few guys who's going to meet your list to where you could be the best woman, wife, and mother that you desire to be. For example, there's this guy that I was dating for about 6-7 months. He's great man of God. He's darn handsome. But was he the right person for me? No. Will he make a great husband? Yes, I agree. I believe wholeheartedly he'll make a great husband. Even my ex that I was with for 3 years, I believe he would make a great husband. I believe that he's a great man. Do I believe he was my husband? Heck no. Because I didn't create a list and understand the type of man that I needed to be with in order for me to be at my best. You know what I'm saying? So just because a guy is a good guy don't mean he's going to be the right guy for you. And that's the key. That's the T. That's the game changer. I'm always talking about the game changer, but that truly is the game changer. All right, I am back from the nail salon. Oh, my nails are so pretty. I love these sparkly nails, this red sparkly shellac color for the Christmas week. I'll always get it every Christmas for like the last 4 or 5 years. So I was so excited to pick that color today. Let's see what else is on my to-do list. So the last thing I need to do is grocery shopping. I think I've done all the small little errands in between, cleaning out my car, grocery shopping, and what was the other thing? Getting my nails done. So just got done getting my nails done, just got done cleaning out the car, so now I just got grocery shopping. And I don't have a ton of stuff to get because I already have food in there for dinner. So I only have to get a few things, which is good. So yeah, I think I'm gonna end this car chat here. I just want to end it by saying, make sure, ladies, that you create your standards and then uphold them, right? Like, you don't deviate from your standards. You don't allow other people to deviate from your standards, because that's truly the way to create the lifestyle you desire, right? It all starts with you. It all ends with you. Look at your life like an empty canvas, and you are the painter. And when somebody else starts painting on your canvas with colors and shapes and symbols that you don't want, you have the right to say, okay, that's not tolerated here. That's not what I want for my life. So you don't ever have to feel obligated to just accept what's being given to you. And if you do, that's your fault. That's nobody else's but yours. All right, ladies? Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you have not already, and like this, and let me know in the comments what were your takeaways and your favorite parts of this video. Talk to you soon.